So the next device we're going to talk about is the rope wrench device. This is one that I'm sure quite a few of you have heard about. It's created quite a stir within the arborist industry, and in my view has completely changed the game on things that we can do within the arborist industry. So the product in itself is not life support. I cannot use this on its own with the rope wrench and the tether to support my life in any way, shape, or form. It's meant to be used within a climbing system, so a hitch-based climbing system. So previously what we've had, and we still have, would be a moving rope system where I'm anchored into the anchor side of the system here. The rope goes up over a limb, back down. I've got my hitch installed on this side, and when I put my weight on it, I've got half of my weight on the hitch side, half of my weight on the anchor side, and what that allows is for the hitch to be controlled smoothly because it's only holding half of my weight. So the hitch will move very easily on the way down and will allow me to position as I'm ascending as well. So the issue with or characteristic, I wouldn't say an issue, a characteristic of a moving rope system is clearly that the rope's moving. And when that moving rope comes in contact with the limb, I start getting extra friction built up in both directions. And all of that is based simply because the rope itself is moving within the system. If we go to a stationary rope setup, where I've got the hitch installed on a stationary anchored line, and I put my weight on this, you'll see that it puts 100% of my weight on the hitch. So it makes it very difficult to control as I'm trying to position on the line. So typically arborists do not use hitches on stationary ropes all just on its own. Now you'll notice on this moving rope system here, essentially what I have is a big loop of rope. If I'm closer to my anchor point, I'll have a smaller loop. If I'm further away from my anchor point, I'll have a larger loop, but it's essentially a loop of rope. What the rope wrench does is it installs with my hitch-based system onto a stationary line, and essentially what I'm doing is I'm just creating that same loop. So on the device itself, there's a slick pin at the top. I can depress the little catch on the slick pin, open it up, and if I maneuver the pin around, there's an inset on the inside of this side plate that will allow that pin to drop in. I can install it on the line. Okay, you'll notice the positioning of the rope wrench with the tether itself. There's a rubber grommet to the inside. And what that does is it keeps the rope wrench from going full neutral. I would want that grommet on the inside. I do not want it on the outside because at that point it would be useless. So once I've installed the rope wrench on the line, I can now connect it down to my hitch. And there's multiple ways of doing this. A standard setup, if I've got a pulley that allows it, is I can have my eyes from my eye-and-eye lanyard capturing the two legs from the twin tether, and then the pulley obviously in the center. And you'll notice what this does. Essentially, I just created a loop of rope. So it's what we would call a contained moving rope system on a stationary line. So once I hook onto this, you'll see what it does by creating that contained loop. When I have my weight on it and it's fully equalized, the rope wrench will create a bend in the rope, and that bend in the rope will take pressure off of my hitch. So now my hitch runs beautifully on a stationary rope. Now, I mentioned the ability to get neutral. With that grommet, it'll keep it from going full neutral so that the pulley from the rope wrench won't get onto my hitch and then tend it down. That grommet will keep it so that as soon as I let go, it's going to start camming on the line automatically. So it's a safety feature here with the tether. But the device can get neutral, so you'll see that it does allow me to ascend just as easily as I can descend on the system. The key here is the life support in the system is the hitch itself. So I'm not really here to tell you what's a properly tied hitch. We are arborists, and then there are other ways for you to get that information. But the key is the hitch is a life support. The rope wrench is not involved with the life support at all. All it does is provides friction to break the hitch so I can move it on a stationary rope.